Hi, I'm Hope Hefright. I am a junior graphic design major at YSU, and this is my junior portfolio review presentation. Starting off, we have freshman year. This was print design one of the first designs I did for a book cover. I chose Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut. I was really inspired by this book. I thought it had some great sort of bizarre imagery I could incorporate into a design. This was also one of my first times using Photoshop, however, so I was really learning. It was kind of a learning curve, using the selection tool, playing with different layers, choosing a typeface, all of that stuff for the first time. I was really happy with this, though. I was able to draw inspiration from a specific scene that I loved. It used sort of eyes, obviously the martini glass for Breakfast of Champions, and I was able to come up with, this kind of scattered eyes in the martini glass bleeding off the page. I ended up adding the liquefy effect to sort of add to that surreal imagery, and I'm pretty happy with the final product. It's close to what my original sketches were, so it's got that kind of surreal look I was really aiming for. Next, we have the travel poster for also Print Design 1. This was one of my first times using Illustrator, and I really wanted to do like an illustrative travel poster. It's simple, I think, but effective. I think I used the curvature tool for most of this, and I just kind of constructed each building. I color picked from a photo of Amsterdam, and I think, it's pretty iconic. You have all of the windows, the bike in the front, which is what Amsterdam is most known for. The 3 Amsterdams at the top was actually born out of me just trying to find a solution for that space I had. But I ended up really liking it. I was able to draw in all of these different colors from the rest of the poster and come up with this as the final product. Next, we have my infographic for Type 1, Spring 2022. This one was a much bigger project, kind of keeping the document organized. I found to be a challenge because I had all of these different illustrations, all of this type. I had a great time making the illustrations, actually, because obviously I'm very passionate about this musician. Just taking these photographs, choosing which elements to keep, adding different effects. I played with like overlays, kind of things like the static inside of the computer, different stroke sizes, things like that. I had a great time with it. And my final product is just what I'd imagined, kind of a color block map of his career that forms around this giant lightning bolt, which is like an iconic symbol of his career. So I'm happy with that. This was the typography poster for Typography 1. For this one, I really just wanted to focus on structure and keeping the type lined up in specific ways. It's simple, but it's really just about creating like a solid design. Things like the typography underneath the 24, I really wanted that to be lined up. Certain things I did to bring it up a little bit more. I have like the gradient right behind the 24, and then I have things to ground it, like the darker maroon kind of pillars behind typography rules and behind all of the rules on the column on the far right. Little things like that, just to create a really like solid, strong design. And then this was the first app I designed, an app for Interactive Design 1. I wanted to do a music streaming app, a social music streaming app. This took a long time because we had to do 10 pages and we had to do wireframes for all of them. I found that the wireframes were actually really helpful, though, because this was how we learned how to set up an app. You're writing down where all the text will go, where the home buttons will go. So it took a long time, but it was a really great experience. We did a lot of user research for this project, so I got to interview friends and people my age and kind of ask them what they would like to see in an app like this. And I think that really paid off because this fictional app has a lot of things that I would actually really like to see in an app. Like it has group chats and it has games and playlists that you can create and share. So hopefully someone makes this one day. And then we have the first website, the desktop website that I designed for interactive design. This one I did for one of my friends' local bands called the Sneaky Heat Missiles. They have a really loud, kind of fun sound. They're a ska band. So I wanted to take that and put it into their website. So it has some fun display fonts, photos of them with their nicknames, large kind of, obviously music photography. I started out with a mood board for this and then just did my best using the wireframes, like I mentioned earlier, to combine that into a desktop website that would really show the vibe of their band and what they're all about. And then we have the merchandise for My Chemical Romance. I was set for print design too. I was really excited to do this because MCR is one of my favorite bands ever. First, we started with sketches. I knew I wanted to draw from their traditional sort of imagery, which is horror movies, comic books, Catholic imagery sometimes. So you have like the church, which I knew I wanted to incorporate. You can see that on the album cover in the top left, and underneath that, the tour poster. And then I kind of also drew from that for the sticker, which is kind of a stained glass window picture of the lead singer. And then the t-shirt I have just kind of some broken ruins and an image of him again. This was me getting more comfortable with Photoshop, learning a lot during this, learning how to change colors, use curves, obviously managing layers. Lots of that. It was really frustrating. I went back and forth on a lot of things, mostly trying to get all of these look like a set, look like they belong together. The red kind of became the one like unifying thing that I wanted to put into all of them. Yeah, it took a minute, but I enjoyed doing this project so much. Obviously, it's always nice to do something that you're passionate about. So I'm so glad I got to do this project. Print design 2, the magazine spreads. This was inspired by sci-fi posters and magazines. I wanted it to be kind of a busy, module, information-heavy spread. I think I was successful in that. I had, the 2 columns across, and I interspersed kind of the images and the information. I really like certain things I did, like the planets. You have Titan, like the moon, I guess, bleeding off of the page. The large pull quotes. You can't see it super well here, but I have this sort of circular motif repeating on both spreads. And inside of that, I pasted these like subtle stars. So I think that's a nice way to kind of bring both spreads together, make the whole thing look like a cohesive article, I suppose. And this was me really learning for the first time, like structure, margins, getting things right in that department. And finally, we have the menus for print design 2. I chose to do a design of a cafe. I wanted it to be kind of fun and trendy and new. I started off looking at mood boards on Pinterest mostly, and I was seeing a lot of these like reds and pink colors, and those are colors I'm really drawn to. Not to mention the fact I've heard, they're great for menu and restaurant design because they supposedly make people hungry. So that was just an added bonus on top of the fact of getting to work with a color scheme I really liked. These illustrations, I got to draw these illustrations and then import them into InDesign. I turn them into vectors, and then I put them into my menu. This was great because I got to sort of use the structure building of a document that I learned in the last assignment, the magazine, and incorporate it with these extra things I'm learning, like the illustrations, like this bleeding type, like all of these new things I'm trying to incorporate. And I'm really happy with the final product. And here we have the takeout version of that. I put in all of these illustrations again, and I used kind of a repeating pattern and obviously the same colors. And that's it. That's my JPR presentation. Thank you so much for watching.